Imagine, just for a second, right? You've got a man standing at the absolute precipice of death.
Oh, right. Here we go.
No, listen, hear me out. He is about to be executed for this brutal, bloody murder that he absolutely did not commit.
You're acting like this bloke literally invented the concept of tragedy.
Because the setup is brilliant. The real killer is out there, right? Just walking completely free. Meanwhile, miles away, someone has just uncovered the truth.
Let me guess. They're rushing to save him.
Exactly. They have the pardon. They're rushing toward the executioner. And as a viewer, your heart is just pounding because the editing is, it's speeding up.
The classic Hollywood formula.
Yes, but wait. We cut to the executioner raising the blade. Then we cut to the frantic dash of the rescuer. Cut back to the blade.
I'll get the picture, yeah.
Cut to the desperate run. Your brain has been completely trained to know exactly how this ends, right?
The rescuer bursts in at the last possible millisecond. The innocent man is saved. Everyone goes home happy.
Right. We all let out this massive breath of relief. Only, the director doesn't do that. The director just lets the blade fall. The innocent man dies. The help arrives too late.
Miserable.
No, it's properly genius. In 1923, a filmmaker did exactly that. He weaponized the audience's own biological expectations against them, and it completely shattered the rules of cinema.
Right, you've been hyping this up for hours now.
Because what he did was absolutely brilliant.
Cinema, the magic vehicle, a comprehensive guide. Journey 1, 1913 to 1950.
A literal time machine, I'm sure.
That is literally the premise of the book, yes.
Yeah.
It acts as a time machine to curate and to unlock these forgotten, uncharted works from the silent era.
The films that build the visual language we take for granted. Yeah, I've read the blurb.
Exactly. And the text puts this massive, glaring spotlight on a 1923 French film by Jean Epstein called The Red Inn, or L'Auberge Rouge.
Ah, yes. The masterpiece.
It is. Based on the anatomy of this film that the book lays out, this is a properly genius masterpiece. It's the absolute peak of...
Are you joking? That's rubbish, mate.
Excuse me.
It's absolute rubbish. The film, or, at least the way this incredibly flowery guidebook is fawning all over it, is a bit overhyped.
A bit overhyped.
Actually, a bit is being incredibly generous. From everything laid out in the text, it sounds entirely derivative to me.
You can't be serious.
I am. It's entirely reliant on the technical gimmicks of its predecessors. And honestly, the underlying storytelling sounds incredibly dodgy in places.
Dodgy?
Yeah, dodgy. You're sitting there calling it a masterpiece, and I'm calling it a pretentious slog.
You haven't even let me explain the historical...
You're falling for the dusty archive narrative, mate.
It's not a dusty archive narrative.
It's a trap so many film buffs fall into. Just because a piece of celluloid is old, and it's French, and it's depressing, doesn't automatically mean it's an act of genius. Hear me out. Just hear me out for 1 second. We have an 1,800-meter-long piece of celluloid here.
That's a lot of film.
Do you comprehend what 1,800 meters of physical film actually represents in 1923?
A massive logistical headache.
It is a massive, tangible, grueling undertaking. Produced by the legendary studio
Pathy?
Pathé pardon me. My brain is a bit mental today. Pathé.
Right, the legendary Pathé Frere.
Yes, but the mission here, for you listening, is to look at the anatomy of this film exactly as described in our source.
To dissect the mathematics of it, I suppose.
Yes, the mathematics, the psychological plot, the historical weight. And we have to decide, is The Red Inn a forgotten triumph of the silent era? Or is my deeply cynical friend here right?
I'm not cynical.
You are incredibly cynical. You think it's just a bloke throwing paint at a wall.
I am just completely immune to hyperbolic film criticism, that's all. But fine, lay out the canvas. What makes this 1,800 meters of film so revolutionary? Right. We have to start with the actual world this story inhabits. Because the setting isn't just a backdrop,
Let me guess. It's a character itself.
It's the psychological foundation of the whole piece. The film is set during the French Directorate.
Ah, the Directorate.
Now, I'm reading straight from the source here. It says the Directorate was from 1895 to 1799.
Wait,
hold on a second.
1895 to 1799.
1895 to 1799. That's going backwards in time for an entire century.
Brilliant.
Okay, obvious typo in the text. It means 1795 to 1799.
The self-proclaimed ultimate guide to the magic of cinema can't even get its centuries the right way around.
It's just a typo.
Fills you with absolute confidence about their critical analysis, doesn't it?
It's a simple printing error. Don't be so pedantic. The concept is what matters here.
All right, 1795 to 1799.
Exactly. From the fall of Maximilien Robespierre until Napoleon's coup.
A very chaotic 4 years.
Extremely chaotic. The directorate was this deeply unstable committee of 5 men ruling France during the bitter, exhausted latter stages of the revolution.
I know what the directorate is.
But you have to understand what this means for the people actually living in it. This is a country completely and utterly traumatized by the reign of terror.
Right, the guillotine.
The guillotine has basically been acting as a metronome for French society for years.
A bit dramatic, but okay.
People have been turning in their neighbors. The streets have literally run with blood.
And now they've got a committee.
And now they are transitioning into this highly corrupt, deeply paranoid bureaucratic rule where nobody trusts anybody.
Look, I know the history. I'm just questioning why it matters to a film about a stolen bag of jewelry.
Because the guidebook specifically notes that social and political events dictate the spirit of a period.
And that influences filmmakers, sure.
Those events deeply influence filmmakers. To me, placing this specific narrative in that specific 4-year window is spot on.
Spot on. It's window dressing.
No, it's about institutional and psychological paranoia. Think about it. It's like setting a psychological thriller in the Wild West.
The Wild West.
Yeah, but the sheriffs are 5 paranoid politicians who just barely survived a massacre themselves.
That is quite the leap.
The entire government has PTSD. The political chaos of the directorate perfectly, flawlessly mirrors the internal psychological breakdown of the main character we are about to meet.
You can't be serious.
I am entirely serious. It's brilliant world building.
You are projecting a monumental amount of depth onto this, mate.
I'm really not.
It is a melodrama about a stolen sack of jewels in a pub.
It's an inn.
An inn, a pub, whatever. The historical setting is just cheap window dressing.
It is not cheap.
Gene Epstein isn't exploring the profound sociological fallout of the Reign of Terror.
How do you know?
He just wanted a fancy period piece aesthetic. He wanted the waistcoats, the cravats, the rustic provincial inns, the lanterns in the fog.
That's part of the atmosphere.
It's an excuse. An excuse to dress up a rather dull, highly conventional plot and make it look intellectually weighty.
It is not a dull plot.
It's the absolute definition of a dull plot wrapped in a veneer of historical importance.
You haven't even heard the plot yet.
I mean, consider how many modern historical dramas do this exact same thing today.
What's saying?
How many times do we see a film use a vastly complex political backdrop, like the Cold War or the Blitz in World War II, just to tell a basic paint-by-numbers soap opera story?
This isn't a soap opera.
Or a bank heist.
Yeah.
Is Epstein really doing anything uniquely profound here, or is he just using the directorate to make a provincial murder seem like high art?
But the murder is high art.
Oh, come on.
It is, because of the psychological mechanics of how it's told. Which brings us directly to the anatomy of the crime itself.
Let's hear it then.
Let's look at what the source tells us about the narrative structure. First of all, the script is adapted from a story by Honoré de Balzac.
Oh, Balzac. Very fancy.
So we are already starting with a very heavy, respected literary pedigree. Balzac is a master of human realism.
Name-dropping a famous 19th century novelist doesn't automatically make a 1923 screenplay good, mate.
It shows the foundation is strong.
You can adapt a genius and still make an absolute shambles of a film. But go on.
Right. Our protagonist is Prosper Magnan. He's a young medical student staying at this isolated provincial inn.
A medical student.
Yes, let's pause on that. He's a medical student. He is a man of science, of rationality, of anatomy.
Okay, Mr. Rational.
But the text tells us he is profoundly, quote, disturbed by a dream of robbery and murder.
A nightmare.
Yes, his rational mind is fracturing. He is having a visceral, terrifying nightmare about violence.
So he's having a bad sleep.
He's so deeply rattled by this waking nightmare that he tries to cope by going outside the inn and completely losing himself in prayer.
Oh, how incredibly convenient for him.
Let me finish the setup.
He just pops outside to pray, does he?
Well, the medical student is outside, desperately praying in the dark. Another man inside the inn.
Let me guess. A rich bloke?
Yes. A man who, very unwisely, had publicly flaunted a massive sack full of jewels to the entire room the evening before.
Of course he did.
This man is brutally murdered by persons unknown.
I am shocked. Truly shocked.
The jewels are gone. The corpse is there. Prosper, the frantic medical student, comes back inside, is immediately arrested, accused of the murder, and sentenced to death.
Right.
Now, here is why this is bloody brilliant. Epstein isn't just showing us a standard Agatha Christie whodunit.
No.
No. He's using a deeply subjective narrative. The guidebook explicitly praises his very convincing use of subjective narrative.
I'm waiting for the brilliant part.
He puts a magnifying glass right up to Prosper's fracturing psyche. The brilliance is that the boundary between Prosper's nightmare and the actual grim reality completely dissolves.
Dissolves how?
Epstein forces the spectator to look at the events strictly through the eyes of the hapless protagonist. You aren't watching a murder mystery from an objective distance.
You're just watching a bloke panic.
You are experiencing the raw psychological dread of a man trapped in a waking nightmare, a man of science who suddenly cannot trust his own senses.
Or his own memory. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. Did he do it? Did he dream it? Is the paranoid society of the directorate just crushing him?
Hold on a second.
What?
You are giving this script so much unearned credit.
How is it unearned? It's right there in the text.
Let's strip away the fancy words for a minute and look at the actual mechanics of this so-called brilliant plot.
Okay, let's look at them.
A bloke walks into a rundown provincial inn. He flashes a massive sack of jewels in front of a bunch of desperate strangers in 1799 France.
Yes.
And we're supposed to sit back and stroke our chins thinking this is high art when he inevitably gets robbed and murdered.
It's the inciting incident. You have to have a catalyst.
It's a total shambles. It's the most tired, lazy trope in the history of fiction.
It is a classic setup.
The wealthy idiot showing off his gold in the tavern. And then and this is the part that really gets me, the medical student.
Prosper.
Right. Prosper, who just happens to have dreamt about a robbery, decides to go outside and pray at the exact precise moment the actual robbery and murder take place.
It's tragic irony.
It's highly convenient and incredibly dodgy storytelling, mate.
It's a mechanism to blur the lines of guilt.
It's a contrived excuse. It's an excuse to get the innocent man out of the room so he can be framed without actually witnessing the killer.
You're being too literal.
You're sitting there calling it a blurred boundary between nightmare and reality. I'm calling it a screenwriter who didn't know how to plausibly frame his main character.
That is so unfair to Balzac and Epstein.
He literally sent him outside to talk to God while the actual plot happened without him. It's lazy writing.
You are completely and utterly ignoring the cinematic execution of it.
The execution can't save a dodgy script.
It's not just words on a page. It's how Epstein visually builds this world. He assembled a massive, highly skilled cast and crew to bring this claustrophobia to life.
Oh, a big cast. That solves everything.
It helps. We're talking Leon Matthau playing Prosper, delivering this tortured, intensely subjective physical performance.
Right.
Gina Menes as Marie. Pierre Hott playing the innkeeper.
Reading out a cast list doesn't make the plot less contrived, you know.
I am not just reading a list. I am establishing the density of the world.
Go on then. Who else was in it?
You've got Tommy Bordell playing a Dutchman, Marcel Schmidt as Victorine,
Fascinating.
Clarette de Savoy as the innkeeper's wife. The text even makes a point to mention Luc D'Artagnan playing the accordion player.
An accordion player.
Yes. The sheer scale of this ensemble for a story set in a single provincial inn is crucial. Think about what that does structurally.
Please enlighten me on the structural importance of the accordion player.
It creates a pressure cooker.
A pressure cooker, right.
If you have a massive, diverse ensemble of transient people, innkeepers, traveling merchants, a Dutchman, musicians, medical students.
All playing the accordion?
No, just one accordion. If they are all trapped under one roof on a dark night, the air gets incredibly thick.
It's an inn. It's supposed to have people in it.
It's an Agatha Christie setup years before Agatha Christie perfected it. Epstein was building a dense, populated, realistic microcosm of French society.
To ground this psychological thriller.
Exactly. To ground it. Every face in that inn is a potential suspect, potential threat.
And a reflection of Prosper's growing paranoia, I'm sure.
Yes. Thank you.
Throwing a massive ensemble cast at a cliche doesn't magically make it deep, mate.
It's not a cliche.
Oh, we hired an accordion player. The paranoia is palpable. Brilliant. Give him an Oscar.
You are deliberately missing the point.
It doesn't change the fact that the underlying narrative architecture is flimsy.
It is adapted from Balzac.
Balzac or no Balzac, the actual mechanics of the story are just a standard melodramatic frame-up.
Yeah.
The innocent man is accused, The rich guy is dead. It's basic.
But the guidebook literally states that this specific film is what made Epstein famous.
Oh, well, if the guidebook says so.
It's renowned as an experiment in narrative. It has a complex time structure. The book calls it a recapitulation of the achievements of silent cinema.
Ah, yes, the mathematical catalog defense.
The what?
I was wondering when we'd get to that part of the text.
Yes. Let's unpack that, because this is where the genius of the filmmaking actually reveals itself.
I'm bracing myself for the genius.
This source guide points out a fascinating biographical detail. Epstein was once seriously interested in mathematics.
Like mathematics.
And he didn't leave that behind when he picked up a camera. He approached cinema with that exact same mathematical precision.
Like a calculator.
He familiarized himself meticulously with all the technical achievements of his predecessors in the silent era.
Okay, so he watched some films?
He studied them. The book actually makes this incredible comparison. It compares Epstein in 1923 to the directors of the Nouvelle Vague.
A French New Wave.
Yes, the directors who, 40 years later in the 1960s, would spend weeks scouring the Cinémathèque Française archives.
A very romantic image.
Epstein was doing that archival deep dive in 1923. He was studying the medium scientifically.
And what exactly did this cold mathematical precision actually produce?
Masterpiece.
Because usually when you apply strict mathematics to human art, you get a spreadsheet, not a masterpiece.
He created what I can only describe as the ultimate cinematic megamix of the 1920s.
A megamix.
Yeah.
We're calling 1923 French cinema a megamix now.
Think about how a brilliant modern DJ samples every great track that came before them to create a completely new soundscape.
Okay.
That is what Epstein did visually. The text says he turns the red in into a literal catalog of the means of screen expression.
Right.
He uses originally composed shots, frequent jarring changes of narrative rhythm, slowed down sequences.
It evolves, I imagine.
Yes, dissolved, multiple exposures, highly unusual camera movement.
Right. He basically threw the kitchen sink at it.
He mastered the tools, working with his cinematographers, Raoul Abordier and Roger Hubert, and the art direction of Edouard Quinu.
That is a lot of names to justify a messy film.
They blended all these complex, incredibly difficult techniques into a coherent whole.
Coherent is debatable.
You have to understand the physical reality of doing a multiple exposure in 1923.
It was hard. I know.
You couldn't just click a button on a laptop. You had to hand crank the film, capture the image, cover the lens.
Yes, manual rewinding.
Manually rewind the delicate celluloid completely blind, and then crank it again, praying the lighting matched perfectly.
So the silver halide crystals didn't overexpose. Yes, it's very technical.
He took every tool available and arranged them with absolute punishing precision to visualize a man's mind breaking.
Wait.
What now?
Do you honestly not see the inherent contradiction in what you're arguing right now?
What contradiction? There is no contradiction.
Being a catalog of the means of screen expression is exactly the problem.
How's that a problem?
It sounds like an absolute bloody mess, that's how.
How on earth is mastering every cinematic technique a mess?
Because it's a technical exercise. It is completely devoid of an emotional soul.
It is profoundly emotional.
If you are sitting there spamming dissolves, forcing multiple exposures, throwing in slowed down sequences, and constantly jerking the narrative rhythm around,
That's the subjective nightmare.
you aren't actually serving the human story, mate. You are just showing off.
Showing off.
It's a director standing in front of the audience saying, look at all the shiny toys I have in my toy box.
He blended them into a coherent whole. The text explicitly states that.
Of course, the text says that. It's a fan guidebook.
The math serves the emotion.
The text is a guidebook trying to justify its own purchase price.
That is incredibly cynical.
Look at the specific example they highlight to prove his genius. The famous tracking shot around the circular table at the end.
Oh, a legendary piece of camera work.
A total gimmick.
A gimmick.
Yes. What does a tracking shot around a circular table actually add to the human drama of a man falsely accused of murder?
It adds tension.
Nothing. I will grant you it's a logistical nightmare to set up in 1923.
Thank you.
Moving a camera that weighs hundreds of pounds in a perfect circle means laying physical track.
Exactly.
Moving arc lamps in real time, pulling focus without a monitor. It takes immense physical effort.
So you admit it's impressive.
But just because something was incredibly hard to do doesn't mean it actually serves the emotion of the scene.
It does serve the scene.
It's mathematical precision, sure. It's impressive geometry. But it's throwing paint at a wall just to prove you bought all the colors at the shop.
That is a terrible analogy.
It doesn't make the resulting painting meaningful.
I completely disagree. The technique creates the meaning.
What is it now?
Yes. The text says the mood creates a very personal vision of reality.
A very messy vision.
You need those multiple exposures and rhythm changes to visually represent a mind breaking down from a nightmare into a waking terror.
You really don't.
You can't just film a psychological collapse cleanly locked off like a stage play.
Actually, you can.
The subjective narrative demands a fractured, experimental visual language.
Right.
If the world feels like a trap, the camera has to move like a vulture circling its prey. That's what the tracking shot does. It traps Prosper.
I reckon if your underlying plot is actually strong enough, you don't need to obscure it with endless dissolves and slowed down footage.
It's not obscuring, it's enhancing.
Some of the greatest filmmakers in history, Ozu, Bresson, evoke profound emotion with a completely static camera.
That's a completely different style of filmmaking.
To me, it sounds like Epstein was desperately trying to distract the audience.
Distract them from what?
From the fact that the medical student conveniently went outside to pray at the exact moment the actual plot happened.
You are incredibly stubborn.
I just call it like I see it, mate.
Fine. Let's move to the climax. Because I think the ending of this film completely validates Epstein's genius.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
It entirely shatters your theory that he's just playing with technical toys for the sake of it. Let's look at the climax.
Go on then. Dazzle me. How does he resolve the magical praying medical student's dilemma?
So Prosper has been sentenced to death.
Right.
The execution preparations are underway. And the guide points out that Epstein bases this culminating sequence directly on D.W. Griffith's 1916 epic Intolerance.
Intolerance, a classic.
Specifically, the modern story in Intolerance where the boy is on the gallows. Epstein uses Griffith's signature technique, parallel editing.
Very standard for the time.
On one side, you have the grim, methodical, horrifying preparations for Prosper's execution. The blade is being readied.
The tension builds.
Yes. And on the other side, intercut with this impending death, you have the frantic, desperate dash of the innkeeper's daughter. She has uncovered the truth. She's rushing toward the execution site, bearing the actual proof of Prosper's innocence.
Right. The classic last-minute rescue. How incredibly original and groundbreaking.
No, that's exactly it. That is
Bravo.
exactly where Epstein subverts it.
Subverts it.
The text literally says, but in the read-in, there is no last-minute rescue. Help comes too late. Exactly. It is absolutely devastatingly brilliant.
He dies.
He dies. Epstein weaponizes the audience's own cinematic conditioning against them.
Well, that's certainly bleak.
Think about the cognitive psychology of film editing. By 1923, audiences had been completely trained by Griffith's parallel editing.
They knew the rhythm.
They knew the biological rhythm of a Hollywood rescue.
Yeah, the cuts get faster.
They knew that when the editing speeds up, when the shots get shorter, when you cut furiously back and forth between the executioner and the person running with the pardon.
The person with the pardon always arrives just in time.
Yes. The audience gets a massive dopamine hit of relief.
And Epstein denies them that.
Epstein sets up that exact mathematical rhythm. He gets the audience's heart rate up, and then he denies the dopamine hit.
Right.
Prosper dies. The innkeeper's daughter is too late. It forces the audience to confront the harsh, unyielding, deeply unfair reality of fate and injustice.
I mean,
It completely subverts the comforting Hollywood melodrama.
you're giving him way too much credit for being a misery merchant.
Are you joking? How can you not respect that structural twist?
Because it's derivative misery, mate.
It is not derivative.
Ripping off D.W. Griffith's parallel editing sequence isn't an innovation. It's just plagiarism with a grim coat of paint.
It's an homage that flips the meaning.
And deciding to just kill the protagonist off anyway isn't profound. It's miserable for misery's sake.
It's realistic. The innocent die all the time, especially during the directorate.
It's an 1,800-meter buildup just to pull the rug out from under the audience at the last second.
That's the point of the tragedy.
Think about the viewer. Consider how it feels when a film does this to you.
It feels impactful.
When a director spends 2 hours meticulously building an expectation,
Yes.
promising a certain kind of narrative payoff based on the established language of the medium,
Right.
and then actively betrays that expectation right at the finish line.
That's called subversion.
Do you honestly sit there in the dark theater and say, what a profound, towering commentary on the harsh reality of fate?
Yes. Many people do.
Or do you just feel cheated out of a satisfying conclusion?
If you just want a satisfying conclusion, go watch a cartoon.
It's not innovation, mate. It's just cruel to the audience.
Cinema isn't supposed to just be a comforting little blanket you wrap yourself in to feel safe.
I didn't say it was.
It's supposed to challenge you. It's supposed to reflect the terror of the world.
It can do that without relying on a cheap rug pull.
The fact that he used the comforting language of a Hollywood rescue to deliver a European tragedy is exactly why the guidebook highlights it as a masterpiece.
The guidebook loves anything that sounds clever on paper.
It's taking the achievements of silent cinema and pushing them violently into darker, more complex psychological territory.
Or, and hear me out,
What?
it's a director who realized his stolen jewel plot was a bit thin, so he slapped a depressing, cynical ending on it to make it seem like a heavy, important tragedy.
That is such a bad faith reading of the film.
Oh, look, the innocent protagonist died unjustly. It must be high art. It's a very tired, manipulative trick.
You are genuinely impossible to please.
I just expect better storytelling.
Which actually brings us to the underlying philosophy of the source material itself.
Ah, the magic vehicle.
Let's look at the broader thesis of cinema, the magic vehicle, and see if the guidebook is actually telling the truth about these archival films.
I can't wait to hear the marketing copy for this thing.
Let's look at how the book positions itself to you, the reader.
Go ahead.
The book claims it is the ultimate indispensable guide for film buffs.
Indispensable, of course.
It promises to physically transport readers across diverse cinematic styles, drama, comedy, sci-fi,
A
noir,
regular magical carpet ride.
and uncover what it calls uncharted cinematic treasures.
Uncharted. Like they found them buried in a cave.
It makes a very explicit promise. If you feel you've been watching mostly modern remakes,
Which is everyone these days.
exactly, if you are exhausted by the algorithm feeding you the exact same content, this book will serve as your map.
Right.
It will deepen your understanding of cinema's actual impact on the world.
A noble, if slightly arrogant, mission.
And I completely passionately defend this book's mission.
I'm sure you do.
We live in an era of absolute content overload.
That is true.
The streaming algorithms just feed us the exact same flavor of narrative over and over again.
Endless sequels.
If you are stuck in that endless loop of reboots and cinematic universes, you need a curated guide like Cinema, the magic vehicle, to forcefully break you out of it.
Okay. I see the value in curation.
You need historians to point back to the Golden Age and the silent era and say, look over here. Look at the visual mathematics Epstein was inventing in 1923.
The math, again.
Films like The Red Inn are exactly the kind of gem this book promises. It opens up a portal to a time when the rules of cinema were still actively being written.
Before they figured out how to write a good script, apparently.
It wasn't formulaic yet.
Let me stop you right there.
Why?
Let me actually read some of the specific language from this text because I think it proves my point perfectly.
What language?
Listen to this phrasing. Quote, "Let the enchantment of cinema take hold of you. Open your eyes and heart to the wonders that await you. Let the magic of cinema captivate you for hours on end."
It's passionate. It loves the medium.
It's a bit much, isn't it? I mean, reading that, I'm half expecting the book to tell me to sprinkle fairy dust on my television set and wish upon a star.
You are so cynical.
I am laughing at this prose. Look, I'll grant the book this much. Providing the correct screen credits.
Yes.
Listing out that massive ensemble cast.
Including the accordion player.
Including the bloody accordion player. And explaining the historical context of the French Directorate.
All very valuable.
That is valuable work. Archival preservation is deeply important.
Thank you. Finally, some agreement.
But calling every old obscure film an uncharted treasure and using this hyperbolic, deeply romanticized language, it's a trap.
How is it a trap?
It's romanticizing history. Not every single old film is a masterpiece waiting to enchant you.
But the book's whole point is highlighting the ones that are masterpieces.
Are they?
Yes, it's separating the wheat from the chaff.
Or it's artificially elevating mathematically precise, emotionally hollow experiments that haven't actually aged well.
The Red Inn has aged brilliantly.
Simply because they are old, French, and hard to find.
That is not why it's praised.
The Red Inn sounds exactly like that to me. A technically proficient narrative shambles.
It is not a shambles.
The guy desperately wants you to open your heart to the wonders of 1923, but what it's actually delivering is a story about a bloke going out to pray while his roommate's jewels get nicked,
You are vastly oversimplifying it.
followed by a deeply depressing ending that is disguised as structural innovation.
It is not disguised. It is the literal foundation of the modern psychological thriller.
Oh, here we go.
Fincher, Nolan, Hitchcock, they all owe a massive debt to this kind of subjective, mathematically precise filmmaking.
Nolan would have written a better excuse for him going outside.
You just completely refuse to engage with the era on its own terms.
I engage with storytelling. And a contrived plot is a contrived plot, whether it was shot on an iPhone today or hand-cranked on celluloid in 1923.
Well, clearly we are absolutely not going to reach consensus on this.
Unlikely, mate.
But honestly, that is exactly why this whole exploration is so fascinating for you listening.
The tension, you mean?
The tension between the technique and the story. If you are listening to this, this is the challenge.
The challenge to sit through it.
I am telling you, track down cinema, the magic vehicle. Use it as a historical map.
Or use it as a coaster.
Find a copy of The Red Inn, watch it, and experience that subjective, devastating brilliance for yourself.
Good luck finding it.
Watch the geometry of that circular tracking shot, feel the biological rhythm of the parallel editing, and see if it doesn't completely transport you to a paranoid inn in 1799.
And I am telling you, save your precious time. Read a Wikipedia summary instead.
Do not read a summary.
Honestly, trying to sit through 1,800 meters of frantic multiple exposures, heavy-handed historical metaphors, and tragic irony just to prove you appreciate silent film sounds absolutely exhausting.
You are genuinely hopeless.
But I will leave you with one final thought, building on the book's own grand metaphors.
No, this should be good.
The guide insists on calling cinema a magic vehicle, right? And it highly praises directors like Epstein and later the architects of the Nouvelle, Vague, for driving this vehicle by constantly, obsessively studying the archives of their predecessors.
Looking backwards to move forward.
Exactly. But if the engine of cinema is just directors endlessly sampling the math, the tropes, and the editing techniques of the past,
Yes.
where is this vehicle actually taking us?
To new places.
Are we moving forward into genuinely new emotional and artistic frontiers? Or is the magic vehicle just driving in tight mathematical circles, endlessly recapitulating the past while convincing us we're going somewhere new?
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
Let us know what you reckon.